I am right now in a $400,000 profit on my trade, but I am not gonna close it anytime soon because I can clearly see the next direction for Bitcoin is gonna be more obvious than we're currently even seeing. There is a ton of liquidity being built up above us, which is forecasting a major move is about to be happening anytime soon. I want to be exactly talk about what most likely that next move is gonna be on Bitcoin, what most likely the next move is gonna be on Ethereum, and much more important data points and charts. And I will be discussing much more important data points and charts on today's update video. So without any further ado, don't forget to once again stomp that like button back above 1,000 likes will be highly appreciated. And let me jump straight away in towards today's update video. So of course, compared to yesterday, there's not been a lot of stuff happening. And really, compared to the real last 240 days here, just like the previous consolidation phase, we didn't saw a lot of price action on Bitcoin. And yes, really what we're looking at right now is this slight little downward sloping consolidation phase in this bigger consolidation range, right? First of all, we had this major move towards the upside. Now we are seeing this downward sloping trend line getting created, downward sloping support line. And basically, we can argue this is clearly a bull flag pattern on Bitcoin. And whenever we're going to be breaking the top side of resistance or the downward sloping resistance line structure, that is of course whenever the next major move for Bitcoin is likely going to get started. And since right now, if we're looking at the liquidity heat map, on most of the time frames, we're all building up massive amounts of liquidity laying above us, somewhere around that $109,000 level. There lays more than $200 million in Bitcoin short positions. So yeah, Bitcoin always follows the liquidity, and it is going to be very likely that eventually we are going to grab out that liquidity. Then this morning, we saw a slight little bump towards the upside, but straight away we came back down again here. But we came all the way back up towards that most important level of resistance. You can clearly see it. This level where I'm currently talking about here is clearly the most important level of resistance, because you can see every single time whenever Bitcoin touches this level, we see a major rejection coming in towards this level as well here. So yeah, this is going to be the level to be breaking above. Of course, the times we have traded above this level, it acted as major support for Bitcoin. So this is, in my opinion, going to be the most important level to be watching. And of course, right now I remain to be in a major long trade here on Ethereum, because I do really believe Ethereum is going to be following Bitcoin on this next leg towards the upside. But more importantly, I ultimately think Ethereum is going to be outperforming Bitcoin. So more about my trade and what my targets are in my Ethereum trade a little bit later in this video. But first, I want to be talking a little bit more about this bull flag pattern, because yes, in many of these previous consolidation phases, you can just see how Bitcoin creates many of these flag patterns, and on how every single time in this bull market, at least there, we didn't went up in one straight go here, just like we did in 2021 or just like we did in 2017, right? We went up in a somewhat of a parabolic move towards the upside. Now, what we're seeing is a move towards the upside, major consolidation phase, another move towards the upside, major consolidation phase, another move towards the upside, etc, etc. So the consensus is really whenever we're going to be breaking above this exact high right here, clear all the sell orders, break above the high, we're most likely going to create the next exponential rally higher. And of course, my targets, I've mentioned these targets for such a long time already, are going to be all the way up to about 140 to about 135,000 US dollars. So that is my exact next target towards the upside. To be honest, if we do hit that level, I will be taking very aggressive profits, and I am expecting Ethereum, for example, will be following Bitcoin along towards the upside. And also, one thing that every single big move has in common for Bitcoin is that before we create that major move towards the upside, we first see a liquidity grab on the lower side. We first fake out all the long traders before we're ultimately going to be seeing that big push higher. And of course, what is exactly happening right now? We have seen that slight little fake out also on the lower side. Well, of course, this has happened always whenever we do create these major moves higher. So yeah, I'm very excited for what is about to be happening next there. Of course, if we're looking at the M2 money supply, we can see exact same stories playing out here. The M2 money supply is, of course, the blue line right here. It's rapidly increasing up to new all-time highs here. And of course, ultimately, Bitcoin is going to be following that. And of course, if I'm looking at the NASDAQ or on the S&P 500, which will be opening all later today as well here, but they are hitting new all-time highs here as consumer confidence returning in towards the market. And you can see how big of a correction we had before, but now we're already once again starting to be moving up towards new all-time highs here. So super excited for what is about to play out there. Last time around, we created also a major bull flag pattern, and really on the moment where we did saw the major breakout of that, we had a big continuation towards the upside in a very rapid pace here, on a very short notice. And once again, I do believe the same is going to be happening whenever we break outside of this bull flag pattern. We are most likely just going to be in for this next major move higher. But now I quickly want to be talking a little bit about my Ethereum trade. I mean, I'm in a $4 million long position on ETH, which is right now about $400,000 in profit, which is of course quite a great profit to be making on such a trade here. But my targets are much, much higher because I do believe this trade is going to be running way higher than this point from now on here. Because yeah, you can see Ethereum right now is still in this consolidation phase after we saw the fake out on the lower side. First we saw them of course on the top side, but I believe we're creating this power of three pattern right now here with of course this first range of accumulation. Then we see the drop off towards the downside, which is the liquidity grab slash the manipulation phase here. And whenever we are going to be clearing this previous high right here, which is going to be somewhere around the 52 which is going to be somewhere around, let's say, $2,600 US. I believe we're going to be going in towards the next expansion phase and going to talk about the realistic targets here. I think if we're going to be hitting that top side of the region, I for sure will be taking some profits off the table. I already have set up multiple orders where I will be taking profit, so 2,662. That is going to be the top side of the range. Of course, it's not the highest point of the range, but that is where I want to be offloading about 35% of my trade, because yeah, then the risk is going to be a little bit too high for me to let it run here, because we are literally going to be touching resistance. So that is of course one of the first levels I'm looking at, and then of course my second target for Ethereum is going to be a little bit higher. It's going to be around the 3K region, of course, and then what I will be doing here is I ultimately think we're going to be going to 4K here, but on that 3K region, I will just exit the market from my leverage positions and then only hold my trade in spot here and then slowly cash out through spot trading. So I believe it's a great one to be using, and yeah, I'm very convinced we are going to be having a new run higher. Of course, we can see on multiple charts that accumulation on Ethereum is running very, very high at this moment of time here. We can see it on on-chain data, but also on the ETF for the Ethereum chart as well. For example, we have seen a lot of inflow coming in recently here. And that once again shows you there's a lot of activity, there's a lot of accumulation ongoing, and this is probably going to be proving the point that we are going to be looking quite good here. So yeah, those are my targets right now for my Ethereum trade here, and of course if it's going to hit my targets, I'm literally going to be making over $3 million from off this trade here. So it's a big trade I've currently got going, and I'm very convinced it's going to be playing out as well here. So yeah, anyways, this is it from me on today's update video, guys. If you want to be trading yourself on Bybit, on any other great exchange as well, check it out in the link description of today's video. Using these links, you can get some very insane deposit bonuses. But anyways, guys, this was it for me in today's update video. Subscribe to the channel, stop at the like button, and see you guys on the next one. Peace out. Goodbye.